So tonight we have a panel featuring a number of kind of English healthcare companies who have already found some success in the market, kind of sharing their insights on how they've found success, challenges they faced, and kind of things of that nature. So I'll, with much pleasure, pass along to our moderator for the panel, Kiran Patel from the CBBC, as well as our 4 panelists. We have Sam Atkinson from the NSF, Ged McGonnell from OLM Diagnostics, Fred Swan from the Cancer Care Commission, and Anna Leo from Circle Harmony Health. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
And hello, everybody. So, firstly, apologies. I think my background has disappeared somehow. So you can see some. I think you've got some flags in the background. So apologies for what looks like a bit of a technical hiccup. So, well, good evening and good morning to you. My name's Kiran Patel. And I'm Senior Director at the China-Britain Business Council based in Beijing. For those of you who are not familiar with us, the China-Britain Business Council, or CBBC for short, is a UK national business network promoting trade and investment links with China. And with China on track to become the world's biggest economy, as we all know, within the next decade, the market, however, despite this, remains a complex and very distinct one. So it's been great to get some input and some insight from all the speakers today with respect to the key trends and opportunities within and across the healthcare and life sciences sector. In my role, I oversee all of the work that CBBC does across all sectors, and the healthcare and life sciences sector is very much a priority area for market development based on the evolving needs, as we've heard, of China's diverse and aging population, reforms that have been introduced to stimulate the market, and the healthcare infrastructure that ultimately supports and underpins this. These have already been explained very well by Ben Chandler, Shunga, Iran today in great depth. And now I'm delighted to chair a panel of genuine experts with whom we will discuss their China journey, business growth, and track record that they have established in the market, very much flying the flag for deepening UK-China collaboration in the sector. We've curated this panel carefully to get a broad range of perspectives and journeys. And on that note, I would like to just very quickly once again introduce our panelists. So Dr. Samantha Atkinson, Executive Vice President and Principal Consultant at NSF Health Sciences, Ged McGonnell, Founder and Managing Partner at OLM Diagnostics, Dr. Fred Swan, Managing Partner from the Cancer Care Commission, CCC, and Anna Leo, Vice President at Circle Harmony Health. Following the panel discussion, we will have some time, hopefully, for Q&A. And should you wish to ask a question to the panel, please input your questions into the Q&A box. So let's very quickly start then with an introduction, a brief introduction from each panelist. And seeing as there is an order on my screen, I'll perhaps go first to Anna, Fred, Sam, and then Ged for just a very quick introduction to yourselves and your respective business.
Okay, thanks very much, Karen, and it's nice to meeting you all online. And my name is Anna Liu, and I work at Circle Harmony Health as a group VP. And Circle Harmony Health is originated in UK and from Circle Health Group. And we brought the Circle Group into China about 5-6 years ago. And I'll share some of the things that we went through in our discussion later. Nice to meet you all.
Excellent. Thank you, Anne. Fred, you next.
Hello, everybody. This is Fred Swan. I'm from Cancer Care Commission. Cancer Care Commission, CCC, is also a UK-based company. And we focus on oncology care and originated, founded by a few Oxford professors. Thank you.
Sam?
Thanks so much, and thanks very much for inviting me along. So Sam Atkinson, as you've heard, I work at NSF, and that's in the Health Sciences UK part of NSF. NSF provides, I guess, consultancy, training, audits, mock inspections for the pharma sector, really to get them ready for regulatory scrutiny. And we work, like I say, across the pharma sector, but also across the globe. So have worked with Chinese organisations. And it's worth probably just saying as well that prior to NSF, I was at the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency for about 16.5 years, which is obviously the UK's medicines regulator. And during that time, I was working an awful lot with China and other global regulators in terms of really trying to harmonise approaches and reduce regulatory burden and barriers. And China was a key partner in the work that I undertook. So really, I'm just trying to continue that work in my role now at NSF. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sam. And finally, Ged.
This is Ged.
Sorry, Ged.
We specialise in the development and manufacture of diagnostic assays for invasive fungal infections. It seems like a relatively niche area, but fungal infections actually kill more people than TB, malaria, and breast cancer every year. We primarily focus on PCR assays at the moment, which I'm sure everybody's heard about now via COVID. As we see this as being the best way to support this area.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ged. So, so each of our panelists have given a short and sharp introduction to themselves and their credentials and their businesses. I'm just going to sort of move straight into the questioning. And firstly, to you, Ged. OLM Diagnostics is a new company on my radar. I've not worked with you to date, and neither has anyone from my team. So it would be good to understand, and of course for the benefit of everyone on the panel today, you know, when did China come onto your radar, and really what attracted you towards the market as opposed to markets such as the US that have traditionally presented the most obvious kind of entrance point for British businesses in this sector?
Well, fungal diagnostics as a whole is relatively new. So as soon as we started to publish data, we started to be contacted by clinicians and potential distribution partners. And some of these were from China. And whilst at the start, the market potential seemed great, I wasn't comfortable with the way things were at the time, but how things progressed was that a friend of mine who's a key opinion leader in the area has actually set up a laboratory in Guangzhou, and they approached us about bringing our products in to use to test clinically with those groups of patients. So it gave us a bit of a link with someone we knew and a group of people that we knew, which sort of squashed some of those worries I had about sort of, I suppose, the preconceptions you get about potentially doing business in China as a small business. And I think that allowed us to take baby steps into an area with our own product, because it is our own product that goes in there at the moment. We're not manufacturing in China. We're still manufacturing here and then shipping across as finished product. But it gave us a step, and working with them, I think it eased the process a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ged. And I've captured a few points which I'll just come back to and save for later on. Just moving around to you, Sam. You have been in touch with our team in the UK, and in terms of your journey, it was good to sort of understand you've already got quite a bit of extensive experience working with regulators and you know, understanding how to open up the market for a company in this sector. So in terms of NSF, again, it would be helpful to understand, you know, what China means to you in terms of market potential. Why does it matter? And what are you really looking to achieve as you now look to further accelerate your business here?
Yeah, thank you for that, Kiran. I mean, we've heard this morning quite a lot about the size of the Chinese market and also the pace at which it's moving. ultimately, it's part of our global supply chain. We all need it. We all need that supply chain to work, and we need it to be filled with products coming from the various places where they're manufactured. And of course, China is a big part of that for medicines and devices. Benjamin, sorry, mentioned earlier that healthcare industry is around, this is the second largest China. And the China pharma market, of course, is significant and growing. The API market alone accounts, I think, somewhere in the region of 20% of global production. So a significant activity there too. It's driving forward with innovation. And, these markets just continue to grow and really are going to become the world leading. I think in terms of, what we're expecting to achieve, the role of NSF and the work that we're doing is all around trying to support regulatory compliance. It's trying to upskill, it's trying to ensure that the products that go into the supply chain are safe and effective, for example. So, they're all the key elements to what NSF is trying to do with its consultancy and training. So for me, it's working with Chinese companies, but also working with UK companies who want to work with Chinese companies. It's that part and parcel. We're all in it together to make up that global supply chain. And I think there is a difference between understanding regulation and the execution of effective regulation. So really trying to embed those regulatory requirements that are not only going to be accepted in China, but actually they're going to be accepted across the globe, because of course, products coming out of China will not just go to China, they'll also go elsewhere around the world. So really it's about that. That's what I'm trying to achieve. It's trying to get companies set up and ready for regulatory scrutiny by all regulators around the globe.
Thank you very much, Sam, and that's a critical role. And you have and NSF have a lot to offer to UK companies looking to sort of navigate and work their way into this very complex market. One that I'm aware of that has done particularly well, Circle Harmony Health. Anna, we're lucky to, we're privileged to have you on today's call. I have actually been to your clinic in Shanghai, but fortunately not, because I had an accident. I was speaking at an event there, but it's a fantastic state-of-the-art facility in the middle of the city. And just in terms of elaborating on the work of Circle Harmony and how you're positioning your business here in China to meet the needs of China's healthcare consumers, what do you view as the priority healthcare needs that Circle Harmony is looking to address? And how do you see the UK broadly making an impact in the development of China's healthcare sectors?
Mm-hmm. So thanks for the question. It's actually a very interesting question. I think twofold. One is the first priority the Chinese government is going through. I think some of the presenters just mentioned as well, as China is gradually building a new healthcare ecosystem, because over the last few years, and China started to promote primary services by encouraging people to sign up for family doctors in the communities, etc., as opposed to allow people to go directly to secondary and tertiary hospitals, and to create a lot of unnecessary waiting time. So there is opportunity lies for a UK company who's good at GP training or certification and all sorts of things that they might have opportunity to enter into the Chinese market to provide those, because traditionally the Chinese education system doesn't have a UP training program per se. They only started about 10 years ago, and it's not very well developed yet. And the other priority I see is the payment system is going through a more diversification at the moment, because originally the government pays for most people's medical bill for many, many years. However, it's no longer sustainable. And commercial health insurance company comes and plays a more important role in this sector. Over the last 10 years, to give you some number, the compound growth rate for commercial health insurance is at 33%. the compensation amount grew from 30 billion to 400 billion in the last 10 years. So that's a tremendous growth, and it will keep growing. So this will not only create opportunity for insurance companies and or innovative insurance products, but also it will provide a better market opportunities for private healthcare organizations to enter into China. And for new healthcare technology companies, there's tons of opportunity as well.
Great. No, thank you, Anna. And I'll try and come back to that point. There's an interesting statistic there that I was unaware of. And, you know, CBBC works with a number of insurance companies, as I'm sure you're aware, and I'm sure they're very much watching this movement and development in the market. I think COVID-19 has also shown us just how, you know, how unsustainable the level of investment at government level has been into, you know, the sort of broader kind of infrastructure that underpinned zero COVID and the impact that the extra impact that now the collateral impact that now has. So it'd be very interesting to see how you know, the financial services sector responds to that. Okay, fantastic, Fred. Just to look at your journey here. So since the Cancer Care Commission have entered the market, you know, it'd be interesting to understand, you know, how you've sort of seen the market evolve, the changes that you've seen, and specifically, you know, looking at areas such as, you know, the appetite for tech and innovation within the sector. What are the sort of key trends that you've seen since your entry?
Well, CCC entered China market since 2016, so it's a quite early stage player into the China market. Especially we were the only one focused on oncology care. Whether we provide medical services, technologies, experts, and resources, we utilize what we can to support our clients in China. And since then, like you mentioned, the market has grown exponentially, of course, also changing rapidly, both from the say the hospital perspective as well as the patient perspective. Well, before, you know, the patients we experienced working with Chinese hospitals, namely the large tertiary public hospitals, they were say rather be told by their doctors how to do their treatment. Whether they do have their own, sometimes they do a limited amount of research on their own treatment plans. But since then, things has grown, you know, into the other direction. That's we provide large amount of patient education, working with our partners in China, that's to educate the patient the importance of screening, early detection, and also during their treatment plan and also the pathway journeys. So yes, it's been quite astonishing change.
Indeed, it has, and in a relatively short space of time as well. I can still recall 2016 as if it was yesterday. So, so yeah, quite an incredible shift. Thank you, Fred. I would just like to come back to Ged. So, really looking at, you know, your sort of challenges that you faced and accomplishments. Perhaps first of all, it'd be good to understand, you know, where you've, you know, sort of found, you know, the challenges to your strategy to grow OLM Diagnostics here in China, and then sort of, you know, having looked at those challenges, elaborate a bit on where, you know, you feel that you've made, you know, some real achievements.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Still quite low, Ged.
Still really low.
Okay, I think, I mean, we can hear you, but it's a little bit on the faint side. Just go with it, and I guess everyone online, if you can turn your volume up to the max. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to.
I'm literally kissing the screen now.
Okay, I can actually hear you quite clearly now.
All right, good. My experience so far of what we've done, I suppose, is a little bit, it's different because everything's been done through a screen like this. Because of COVID, I have yet to actually experience China.
Right.
Which I find, whilst we've progressed and done well in terms of getting kits into China and having them used clinically, we've since then progressed into a JV where we are going to look at Chinese manufacturers so that we can sell into the greater China setup in terms of in supplying other hospitals outside of the laboratory, that the one laboratory that we currently supply in Guangzhou. And I think that's where my biggest issues have come from, is in the actual setup of that, and actually doing that with a team who we have a really good relationship with, but are on the other side of a VooV screen or WeChat. You know, that is how we've lived through our JV for the last 3 years, which makes it very hard sometimes to have a straight conversation, because we are quite focused, and I would say the group are focused as a whole, but they have a tendency to go off on different tangents and they get excited about things. And it's hard to, when you're not all sat in the same room together or in the same office building, it's sometimes hard to slow things down and rein people back in again a little bit and try and regain focus in that sense. So I do think that's the biggest, and I think that's obviously from a brief conversation I had with Benjamin the other day, it's obviously a cultural thing as well, where I think do things a lot more slowly and methodically, and whereas they want to do things quicker, they want to do things faster, and I think that's where I kind of see the issues. But the main thing for us is that our tests are being used clinically every day in the lab in Guangzhou, and people's samples are being diagnosed with our tests. So in that sense, I think we've done well, and our forecasts for this year are great. The numbers are going up, but it's that other side of the business where we're looking at outside of that, the reference laboratory, is how we formulate that to create the sort of the manufacturing and distribution side of the business to take on the rest of the Chinese market. And I think that's where it's hard being over here in Newcastle and dealing with a team in Guangzhou who are opposite ends of the day, and it's trying to control things sometimes, I think, which is where the biggest issue is for me, and keeping focus.
Thank you very much, Ged. And I think a very common challenge for us all over the last 3 years has been sort of being able to actually visit the market, to engage directly with partners, suppliers, manufacturers, and and that creates a whole catalogue of barriers and potential misunderstandings. But it's good to hear that you've found a way to crack through that in the interim, now that borders are reopened and direct flights will soon be back to Beijing, which we're all very excited about. In fact, I know that Emirates have 21 flights coming into China as of the 15th of March. So, gradually the routes to the market are coming back for you all to visit, and I hope you will be able to pick those challenges up directly, Ged, with your partners there in Guangzhou. Just moving on to Sam again. The same sort of well, actually, maybe I'll step back to sort of policies and regulations that you might sort of see as being helpful to stimulate the market. Of course, regulators have done, made a lot of progress in terms of looking to liberalize the sector, open it up to investment and support expertise and standards from the UK and other countries to influence positively the sector. But yes, from your perspective and from a position of expertise, what would you like to see happen to stimulate the market?
Thanks, Kiran. I think you're right to say there's been a huge amount of work already ongoing. There's been a lot of improvements over the last few years. I think the regulatory reform actually started back in somewhere like 2015 across the sort of pharma sector, and China also joined ICH, I think it was 2017. So, you know, there's a lot of work in terms of trying to put in place regulations that are going to support innovation, but also access. And I guess that would include everything from supporting businesses in terms of the data review timelines. We're seeing transparency in terms of drug reviews and approvals. And I think I heard somebody mention earlier about the process for gaining new drug or clinical trial approvals as well. I mean, the clinical trial element obviously quite important. So China's historically been very good at collaborating with other global regulators. As I mentioned earlier in my introduction, I've worked quite closely with SFDA and NMPA. So you know, there's an awful lot of work going on in that respect to enhance the relationships, but moreover the alignment. And I think that's where the challenge still remains. It's alignment across the regulations and ensuring that everyone executes those regulations in a similar way in order for that to be seen as equivalent across the globe. Now, the point to make here as well, I think, is actually that there's a lead time to all of this. So, you know, China can put in place everything that perhaps helps that alignment. Likewise, other countries can do the same for that alignment, and you can eventually get to things like mutual recognition and reliance. But there is a time period for that to all come into fruition. Because there's one thing actually putting it in place, but then what has to happen obviously is everybody in the sector needs to fall in line. There then needs to be a period of time where a review is undertaken. In other words, the compliance monitoring activities occur, and that's when you start seeing the outputs. And then of course there's the discussions that happen between countries in terms of the regulators to see that is effectively deployed. So even at that point, there can be discrepancies on harmonization or alignment. So it takes time, these things. And, you know, I think there's been a huge amount of work, like I said, since 2015 and beyond. And I think it is going to take a bit of time, but they're moving absolutely in the right direction. And I think other regulators are still welcoming that discussion and seeing where they can also move to find that alignment. So it's a work in progress, I would say, but I wouldn't necessarily point to a specific policy or regulation, because I think that's too specific. It has to be seen as a holistic view.
Thank you very much, Sam, and a very helpful answer for me as well in trying to sort of understand a very complex environment for you know, in terms of policy making for the sector. Yeah, mutual recognition and reliance certainly does take time, and you know, CBBC, DBT, Serica, and everyone involved in this seminar as organisers and contributors, I'm sure, are all doing their bit to sort of chip away at you know, advocacy on these key points. Anna, let me come on to you, and in terms of, you know, trying to understand and communicate the you know, the great story of Circle Harmony's development in China and rapid pace of it. It would be good to sort of, you know, take stock perhaps of, you know, where you currently are right now, and where, you know, the sort of vision for Circle Harmony is over the next 5 years. Where are you? How are you looking to sort of expand? And, you know, what, without going into anything, of course, that's confidential, what does your sort of business plan look like in terms of growth for the next 5 years?
Okay, so currently we have 2 clinics in Shanghai, and we've been in Shanghai for 3-4 years. And we are planning to open new clinics in Beijing this year, as well in Chengdu and Guangzhou next year. So within the next 2 to 3 years, we will have 4 core regional clinics. And our business model is a little bit different, because we don't just operate as a standalone clinic. We work very closely with public hospitals. And so each city we pick and we go, we collaborate with the most prominent public hospital. So with the 4 regional geographically, we will be able to cover the entire China throughout these 4 clinics.
Excellent, and that's great to know. I'm based in Beijing, and look forward to having the choice of the Circle Harmony Clinic here. Of course, Guangzhou and the Greater Bay Area itself geographically presents such a great opportunity for growth as well. So it would be interesting to see developments of the clinic and the broader business down there in the Greater Bay Area, which I know is actively looking to attract investment into its healthcare infrastructure. So Anna, thank you very much for sharing. Fred, let me come to you. Again, let's perhaps just step back to a similar question that I posed to Ged earlier around sort of the challenges and successes that you've encountered in terms of developing the work of the Cancer Care Commission here in China. Obviously, on cancer treatment and oncology, there's a great need for it, but of course there are the challenges that I'm no doubt that you'll have come across. So it'd be great to understand about what you've experienced.
Well, the challenges are very different aspects, or say different dimensions. Firstly, is a fragmented level of hospital system or healthcare system than UK. And the patients usually tend to visit tertiary large public hospitals, and where the community level of healthcare, or say GP capabilities, were quite different in China. So in order to bring our system of procedures and how we envision the care of cancer, or say oncology care, the localization was number one challenge. And also the the different say pathways, or say rhythms of working together with the China teams and the UK team is not only the time differences, but the way how we can approach to get results sometimes were quite different. But comes to over to success, we had really good ongoing rate of success from different aspects. Number one, we are working very closely with different levels of Chinese government agencies, and to say be a participant, or say a partner on the China national level of oncology care standards and procedures. And also we are working with namely a few quite large state-owned healthcare organizations or companies, and some of them have more than hundreds of hospitals throughout China. So we create a quite large of influence circle of how we can provide better cancer care services in China.
Great. No, thank you very much, Fred. Again, a very comprehensive answer there, and a lot for me to sort of unpack. I am conscious of time, and I just want to perhaps kind of try and bring this panel to a close, and again enable an opportunity should anyone else have any questions that they wish to pose through Q&A. But I'd like to just sort of get a quick sort of summary from all of you in terms of what advice you would give to those companies on the line today that are that are looking to enter the market and to grow a successful business here. So what if you could just sort of very quickly give a quick sort of guide to and some quick advice on that to the audience, that would be great. Ged, I'll go to you first.
From my perspective, it's to not just look at the numbers, because the potential is obviously huge, but I think you've got to have a real confidence in your partner and the actual route that you're going to take, because I still question whether we are doing the right thing. I'm sure we are, but I do have a strong confidence in the group that I'm working with. But I think from a legal standpoint, we put a lot of effort into that as well, in finding the right lawyer to work with, making sure all of the agreements were structured correctly. And I know that might seem like simple things, but I think it's the whole thing for me is making sure that the structure is correct, because if you haven't got a sort of a base to work from, a firm structure to work from, then I can only see see problems ahead.
Thank you very much, Ged. And again, I think that's some very sound advice and guidance for companies on the line. Trust, confidence in your partners is a fundamental principle, and if that doesn't exist, it can be very difficult, irrespective of what business you're trying to grow in China. But yeah, absolutely. Let me perhaps move on to Sam for some words of wisdom from yourself to businesses on the line.
No, thank you. So, I found working with Chinese organisations, really interesting, really quite positive. And that's come a little bit through engagement with the likes of CBBC and the Chinese Chamber of Commerce of Medicines, Healthcare Products, Imports and Exports, CCMHPIE, if I get that right. Fantastic for really helping engage with organisations across the sector. And as I said earlier, there are some strategic challenges in terms of alignment and harmonisation, but I think it's about building trusted relationships. Yeah. And you can do that through those networks, like I say. And I think if you're also trying to get products that are going to be used in China, but also externally to China, it's about how do you ensure that that's accepted elsewhere. So building those partnerships was mentioned earlier, but like NSF, if I may say, we've worked with Chinese organisations to enhance quality management systems that are going to be acceptable elsewhere around the globe. So it's really about trying to find ways to enhance your opportunity, but really investing, time, I think, and effort into filling any knowledge gaps or expectations, perceptions, both sides here I'm talking about, and even understanding the history of both sides, because the history builds the culture, and that quite often is seen as some level of challenge. But I think ultimately embrace the experience and embrace the positive drive towards innovation and really try and learn from each other. And I think actually you'll find that some really fantastic partnerships and working collaborations can occur. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sam. Anna.
Yes, I have a few advices to whoever who is looking for the opportunities and to enter into China. First of all, know the market well, not just look at the market size, but you have to understand the market really well and do your due diligence before making any decisions. And secondly, and more importantly, to find a good and suitable local partner who shares the same philosophy with you. I think many speakers have stressed how important a local good partner is. And if you find the right partnership, it will help you to shorten your painful journey into a brand new market, and it will also help you to achieve a lot more within a short period of time. So do the homework and try to look at the big picture.
Thank you very much, Anna. Fred, finally, last but not least.
Well, a few advice that from my perspective. Number one is that to manage your expectations. Like Anna said, it's a great and large market. However, the time period has shifted so rapidly. A couple of years ago, when someone says I have a good idea, or say I have a unique service or product that I can enter China market with ease, but right now, the market has changed. You have to concentrate and condense your product or idea or resources, focus on something, say, rather small, and to make a breakthrough. That's number one. And the second one would be, again, finding the correct partners to build up your network, to build up your resource locally. Namely, we have been very lucky to have a partner company from 8 Hours, and they helped us to manage local regulatory environments and also building up business networks. And last but not least, patience. Sometimes you have a good opportunity ahead of you, and maybe it's a cultural difference or something called luck, but yeah, manage your patience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. I think across all of those answers, there's a common theme, and that's partnerships and due diligence and really sort of understanding who you are going to be, you know, working with in China. Really, that I think I totally agree with is the fundamental pillar to building a successful business here in China, and that's the common theme across all of your inputs. I think also the cultural difference. I'll just sort of add a point in around the speed and pace of the respective markets. Excuse me, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Three speeches and stroke panel discussions today, so I'm running a bit raw. It's you know, being responsive to you know, the opportunity and moving quickly, I think, is key, and balancing that with patience, as you mentioned, Fred, around making sure that you make decisions that are in the best interest of your business. Of course, you know, there are organisations like CBBC, of course, and also DBT, the UK government itself, that provide a lot of support and guidance to companies looking to understand and build partnerships. There's great work, again, I'll reference Serica, that they do, working with investors in the sector, working with business parks and you know, with sort of technological clusters across China. You know, there is an ecosystem there, and you know, we are on hand to all of us to help companies to navigate that. But predominantly, you guys are the champions. You've successfully built businesses here, and you've leveraged those networks effectively. So it's great to get your first-hand perspective on the opportunities, the challenges, your stories, how you've worked with partners such as those involved in today's event and in today's summit, and also more broadly. It's been great to get these inputs from you. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop my questioning there, but I'm just wondering if there are any further questions that have gone into the chat box, or Matt, whether or not you wish to ask a final summary question.
Yeah, thanks, Kiran, and also just a little cognizant of time here, so I think we'll just wrap it up. But don't want you to lose too much of your voice. But again, thank you, Kiran and Fred, Anna, Sam, Ged, so much for sharing kind of your insights and perspectives, and you know, I think really enlightening, getting a sense of, you know, these different paths into China and journeys to finding some success. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Here.
Thank you.